Hey everybody, hey. Okay, I am being told to rotate my phone. I don't know what that means. But, oh, does that mean I'm being recorded sideways? Okay, let's try this over. I'm coming right back. Okay, we're trying this again. We are going okay, we're trying this again. If this is not coming out right on your view, let me know so that I can do something different. This is being recorded onto YouTube, but I'm hoping it's being recorded on Facebook Live and you're actually able to see me upright rather than sideways. Um, I want to welcome everybody who is joining me. This is uh, this is the journey into wholeness, and this week, this month, we're looking at déjà vu. As always, I like to open with a verbal libation. So I want to honor the shoulders on which I stand, the people who made this possible, the people who made me possible, the people who made this work possible. First and foremost, the creator, of course, and then I honor my father, Curly Parms, who made transition in January 2015, my mother, who is still here, but I stand on her shoulders every day. I watch this woman who's 87 years old go out feeding cows and pull weeds, and I'm standing on her shoulders. And also my grandparents, Charlie, Versi, Laura, and Ples, great grandparents, Polly, Alice, Jim, um, Willie. I can't think of the other four, but all these people, I stand on their shoulders, and so we acknowledge them. Ashe. uh, this is a part of the Whole Self Ministries, and our intention is to help us live the life the Creator endowed us with in power, love, and justice. That's what we're created for. Um, if you want to go to our website, the web address is www.wholeselfministries.org. On there, if you want to refer people to tune in, they can just go to the classes page and click the Facebook link, and it'll take them directly to Facebook Live. It used to be able to take us to um, YouTube Live, but that no longer works because I need 1,000 subscribers to make that happen. So I'm hoping that you all will help me make that happen. Call your people, email them, tell them to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we get 1,000 subscribers, and then you will be notified immediately when we actually go live. Um, what else do I need to say before we get started? Um, Everything we teach at the Whole Self Ministries is meant to take us to our highest level, so that we operate at our highest vibration. So I was talking to a girlfriend of mine not too long ago, and she was telling me that in their Bible study they were talking about deja vu. Now, when I was going to Bible studies on a regular basis, we were some of these what we consider metaphysical phenomena today. We were told those were sinful. You don't talk about them. You don't deal with them. You don't you stay away from all those because they're not biblical. So I was really enthralled by the fact that she was dealing with it in Bible study. Somebody brought it up and they actually had discussion about it. So she and I had discussion, and I decided this was going to be our next topic, but I did not realize just how pervasive the study is. It's an actual phenomenon that psychologists, uh, 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 physicists, all sorts of scientists have put study into for years, years. So I was actually kind of nervous when I was thinking about doing this, because I thought I was just going to be dealing with some of the metaphysical aspects of it, some of the spiritual aspects of it, and with what I've experienced of it and what I know other people have experienced. But there's a whole body of study and research out there. So I went through some of it, and I'll discuss parts of it. I had to narrow it way down in order to fit it into, first of all, into my brain, second, into a study that we could do in a short period of time. But my purpose for doing this was so that we would understand that these deja vu moments aren't just little glitches in time. These are actually experiences that we can have on a consistent basis. It's part of our connection with spirit. So it's bigger than just these little moments, just these little what seem like coincidences. So I'm going to look at what it is from a psychology perspective, what I found anyway. And then I'm going to look at what it is from a more metaphysical perspective. And then spiritually, we're going to wrap it up with some spiritual insights. Deja vu is French, and it actually means already seen. Uh, in my research, I found out there are other dejas. They kind of fold into the deja vu. Already seen is also translated sometimes already experienced. So these other dejas kind of wrap into the experience, the broader experience that's already smelled, already felt, already heard. I'm going to go through some of those names later. The Pacific Neuropsychiatric Institute website mentions at least 16, closer to 20 forms of the word. And Dr. Vernon Knapp began this research over 35 years ago, and he has books written on deja vu. I just didn't know. I had no idea. So um, he gives some definitions, and he wanted to do that so everybody would be on the same page. Everybody's not talking about a different phenomenon, a different aspect of the phenomenon. He wanted to make sure everybody had the same definition, had the same understanding. And when we start talking about deja vu, we're all talking about the same thing. When we talk to our friends, we know that that little feeling we get like, I did this already. But he wanted to be more thorough in the study of this phenomenon. So um, his technical definition is any present experience of present impression having a subjectively inappropriate familiarity with an undefined past. So, what he's saying is anytime you feel like you're having the impression you have feels like it's very present, but the association, the familiarity with it is inappropriate for the time because it's actually associated with an undefined past. You don't know necessarily how long ago you experienced that, but you know you experienced it. And it doesn't seem to make sense, but it's real. Okay. So um, that definition incorporates all these definitions. I'm going to give these to you as I go. Now, if any of you speak French and you actually know how to pronounce this, and I'm pronouncing it wrong, be kind enough to email me the correct pronunciation. So if I ever have to say these again, I'll say them right. But I'm going to do my best. Déjà entendu, which means already heard. Déjà éprouvé, already experienced. Déjà fait, already done. Déjà pensé, already thought. Déjà raconté, already recounted. That was different for me. I guess it's when you're actually speaking and you have the feeling that you've said this before. Déjà senti, already felt or smelt. So you've had this feeling before, you've smelled this before. Déjà vu, already known. And that sounds to me more like clairvoyance. But maybe there's a different understanding of it, but I have not read his book. Déjà trouvé, already found. Déjà vécu, already lived. And déjà voulu, already desired. No. Okay, so those are the main ones that he said we usually experience. And we usually experience a combination of any of those. Because I know typically in a deja vu experience that I've had, it's an already experienced. I've already heard what's going on. I've already done this. I've already said this. There is a combination of all of those. So the Webster definition is a feeling of already having experienced the present situation. Now that's more comprehensive. So whatever is going on in the situation, whatever the feeling is, or the sound, or the words, or the sight, or the experience, whatever that is, you've already done it. That's the gist of it. Um, Now, I was surprised when I looked up the psychological definition of deja vu. I kept reading through, waiting for them to get to the part where it goes into, the psychological aspect of it, or um, the the beyond physical, the beyond what we normally experience, maybe the parapsychology. That's what I kept expecting, but their explanation was based only on memory and on what's familiar. So basically they said it's it's brought on because you go into a place where a place where you've been before, and that jars memories of that place, so you're having a deja vu moment. or you go into a place that's similar to where you've been. So it jars a memory of the place where you've been, and it feels so familiar that it makes you have that feeling. Or it's a place that's set up like a place you've been. The place itself may not be familiar, but the environment within that place is very familiar. So it pulls something out of you. And I'm assuming they mean people also may seem familiar, so they remind you of someone, so you get that feeling. But I was really surprised that that's basically as far as most of the psychology went. They didn't go into what um, Dr. Nepp, I hope his name is correct, Neppe, if you want to look it up, the psychology that he went into. I didn't find the research that talked about that. So my question came, what are the times when we know it's not a place we've experienced? We know it's not set up like a place we've been, unless it was someplace when we were babies and we don't remember those times. So I disagree with the view that it's solely based on a memory from this life. Now we'll talk about memories from past lives later on. Um, there's the saying that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. Well, I update that to say we're spiritual beings in physical bodies working toward having a spiritual experience. Because if what is happening is what I'm thinking is happening, it's all spiritually connected. So if it's spiritually connected, then there's no limit to what we have access to. When my sister and I were little, we used to have these deja vu moments all the time. And of course, being children, we didn't know what to call them. So we had this doll named Misty. And for whatever reason, we always relegated it to her. We knew she wasn't actually doing it. We knew she was inanimate. But whenever we had these deja vu moments, we said, "Ooh, Misty did it." And we knew what we were talking about, even as children. I was 4 and she was 9 or whatever ages we were, but we were small. But we had to have something to put this some place to put it in our understanding at that time. And it seemed to happen more frequently when we were younger. And I believe what happens is because we're so much closer to spirit when we're younger, we have a greater connection. As we get older, that spiritual connection starts to be pushed out. So we started having these experiences less and less, but we still had them. We still experience them, and we still talk about them. Um, One thing that I started doing is writing my dreams. Now, something I noticed after writing my dreams for several years was that when I, it's just like any other time when you take notes so that you can help reinforce it in your mind. So when I started writing my dreams, it helped reinforce the memory of what I was dreaming. So it became easier that when I came into these deja vu moments, I sometimes actually remembered dreaming it. So I advise all of us to write our dreams down because we don't know what all we're accessing when we have our dreams. But there have been situations where I've had a deja vu moment and I realized, oh, this is that dream. And I remember writing down the dream. Sometimes I can remember actually having the dream. And I remember sometimes waking up wondering who are those people in that dream? Where was the house where I was sitting? What house was that? Well, sometimes we're dreaming of something that's yet to be. And when we finally experience that, it becomes a if, I'm sorry, I got distracted a little bit. I see something on my screen. I'm so excited here. But when we experience that, we I'm sorry, I lost it. But when we have those dreams and we experience these remembrances of our dreams, it becomes obvious that there's something bigger going on than just having a deja vu moment. There's actually something happening. If you can dream something one year and actually remember it and actually experience it in another year or another time. So I'm going to ask you to mute your phone, sister. Thank you. I'm glad you're here, Linda. Um, there and also what I experienced with dreams is that I realized there's no difference between past, present, and future. And that's what a lot of physicists have come to the conclusion that spiritual people have been dealing with that forever and ever. We've known for a long time there is no past, present, and future, but we have to experience life in that linear fashion in order to keep our life straight, in order to keep going through our days and making time makes sense. But when we dream, those lines get blurred. There is no difference between the past, the present, and the future. So when we dream, we may have these images of what has come up from our past. We may have images of what's coming up from our future. We may have images of some things that are going on now. And in those deja vu moments, we remember this is what happened in that dream. This is what happened before. Or we may be having a deja vu from what's going to happen. One thing that Dr. Net said was that he did some research on epileptic patients, and they got to understand the connection between epilepsy and um, there's a connection between the deja vu moment and the epileptic moment. Um, the the their they would have an epileptic episode after their deja vu moment. So they started to do an examination that showed that there was something going on in their brain each time they had an episode and each time they had a deja vu moment. So in this deja vu moment, I'm sorry, the sun is starting to peep through here. In the deja vu moment, they were able to go in and help curb what was going on in that um, epileptic episode. So they see that something is actually happening in the brain when we have a deja vu moment. There's something, there's some kind of connection that's changing, whereas normally the synapses, you might have a connection like this, it might be looping around then connecting. So we don't know what kind of spiritual connection that is when we're having a deja vu moment. We don't know whether that's a situation where we're going, the lines between past, present, and future are blurring and we're going into different spiritual dimensions. We don't know if that's a time when dimensions are blurring, because there are several dimensions that are taking place right here, right now. So we could be crossing over into other dimensions, experiencing things from other dimensions, and then when we get to a place where we meet these people we met in another dimension or in another time, that's our deja vu moment. And we actually experience that and think, where did these people come from? Because we've actually experienced them before. Whether you remember you dreamt about them, maybe you never dreamt about them, maybe you actually met them in your sleep travels. And I'm covering a lot of different metaphysical items because we're talking about dreaming, we're talking about out of body travel, we're talking about other dimensions, and maybe we'll have sessions on those another day. But I'm saying that to make the connection between those and deja vu, because this phenomenon is more than just, oh wow, look, this feels familiar, because it's more than just a feeling. It's actually an experience, and that's what Dr. Neff has been trying to say. Um, the Let me make sure I'm covering all of this from the dreams. Oh, also part of the basis for mental illness, for some people, they have trouble distinguishing between past, present, and future. Those lines get blurred. And it's not just mental illness where we see people unable to control their mentality, but dementia patients, um, people with disorders that need medication. A lot of those people have problems distinguishing between the past, the present, and the future. So those lines get blurred. And if we were able to communicate with them, we might actually see that it's not a matter of being sick and needing medication. It might be a matter of needing someone who can help them to put this in order, to help them understand, just as people who are psychic, people who are born able to hear other people's thoughts, people who are able to see the future. Someone has to work with them and help them understand their gift. Some of these people are extremely gifted, and we think they're sick. We put them on medication, and that serves to mute what's going on with them. And because they may or may not want to delve into it, they may not know to get into it, they take the medication, they squelch their gift, and they go on with life. They're able to function as healthy individuals working in everyday jobs, and you never know they have these gifts. But that may be the case with a lot of people who have what we call mental illness. Now, in the Bible, the Bible says the kingdom of heaven is among you. Now, I know that seems like a great big shift going from deja vu to the kingdom of heaven is among you. But what made me think of that during my research was that we think of the things like deja vu as just these little quirky incidents that take place. But as I was studying, and I'm seeing that it's a larger phenomenon, I'm seeing that it's very much connected with the spiritual realm. It's very much connected with our ability to see before something happens. So if you're able to have this moment where you can experience something going on right now, all of a sudden it's a little flash. That means the veil has opened for you to see something. That means if you've seen it before. So at the time you saw it before, something was being revealed to you. And I believe that comes from the spiritual realm. So that made me stop and think, what is that spiritual event that's taking place. Our dreams are revelations. They're either revelations of something we've done before, or revelations of something that's happened, or it's helping you process situations from your right now or your past. So I started thinking about when Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is among you. That means it's here right now. We're experiencing it right now. But so many of us see heaven as something that's going to come at the end of our lifetimes. It's something that happens after this. This is just a flash, and then heaven for all eternity. Now, eternity is a really, 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 really long time. So for us to have these little bitty lives and then go into eternity singing to God just never, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I had to look up the kingdom of heaven from a metaphysical standpoint. The kingdom of heaven from a metaphysical standpoint is spirituality and all it encompasses. That's what the kingdom of heaven is. So if we're experiencing these little glimpses of the kingdom of heaven, because it's here. Yeshua already said that. When he left, he didn't take it with him. It's here. So if we're experiencing that right now, then we have access to all information out there. We have access to everything the Creator has access to. We were created in God's image. Therefore, we have that access, but being in these limited human bodies, it's hard for us to grasp it all. It's hard for us to get it and really understand what we're experiencing. And most people don't care to, because it's so big, it's so vast, it's so much. But if you get serious about your spiritual growth, if you're serious about growing spiritually, you can't ignore the fact that God's Spirit is not outside of you. If God is everywhere, then God is inside of us. If God's Spirit is everywhere, then God's Spirit is also inside of us. That says to me that if God's Spirit is inside of me and I can get myself out of the way long enough, then I can access this information. I can access spiritual places. I can access spaces and times that I normally would not be able to access if I'm living in this limited, linear world, thinking God is outside of me, going outside of me for all my help when Spirit's living inside of me. Now, that's a total change in our mindset, because most people think of God on a throne outside of themselves, and they don't think of God living right in here. But when you stop to think of that, then deja vu moments start to make sense, because you've already experienced everything there is in your whole lifetime. You experienced it already in the spiritual realm. So when it happens, it just happens to be one of those times that you latched onto in your physical self. You let the mind that's attached to this brain actually latch onto it, so that you marked it in time somehow. You marked it in your recollection, so that when it finally happens, you say, wow, I've been here before. I've done this before. I've seen this before. I've met these people. I know these people from somewhere, because because you have met these people from somewhere. You actually have met everybody you're going to experience in your lifetime. You've actually experienced every experience. And we have the option to change how we experience everything we go through, because the kingdom of heaven is where? Here, among us. When he said among us, it meant inside you. We're living in it right now. Let me see. Now, deja vu is just one expression of heaven through us. Like I said, it gives us a glimpse. And this goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. We're spiritual beings working toward a spiritual experience. We have to start to get past our limited perspective that we are limited. We're not limited. We're unlimited except what this flesh can do. But even in that, there are people around the world who have learned how to levitate. They've learned to penetrate walls with their hands. They've learned to penetrate matter. They can actually do things with their flesh that we believe we can't do because of our limited perspective. So I want you to take this with you. This is our conclusion. We live in a world where God is outside of us, but we know God actually is inside of us. We know God is infinite and limitless. That makes us infinite and limitless. Whether it's a deja vu experience, whether it's a clairvoyant experience, a clairaudience experience, and we'll talk about clairvoyance one day too. That's a good topic to have. But whether it's one of those experiences or just being able to get outside your body and travel somewhere, all of those experiences are a part of who we are. So take these with you. We're created in God's image, thus our origin is of spirit. 2, if there's no past, present, and future, everything is now. So allow yourself to function outside the lines. 3, we have the capacity to know what we don't know we know. So open your mind to infinite possibilities. I want to thank you for watching and listening today, and allowing me to share with you what I researched, what I've learned. This will appear on Facebook. I'll save it on Facebook, and I'll save it onto YouTube. And as I said at the beginning of the program, I can go onto Facebook Live. I would love for you to like my page, send it to friends, and once we go live, then you'll be notified. Friend my page. I'm sorry, friend me, so that the whole at Whole Self Ministries, so that when we go live, you'll be notified. And also on YouTube, we have the Whole Self Ministries channel, and we cannot go live. This will be posted on YouTube, but we can't go live unless we have 1,000 subscribers. I'm far from that, so I'm counting on you to go to subscribe to the Whole Self Ministries page, send a link to all your friends, tell them to subscribe so that we can again start to go live on YouTube. Let me see. You can email us at wholeself, WHOLESELF, at wholeselfministries.org. You can go to our webpage. If you forget any of this information, I thank you so much for your love, Addie. You can go to our webpage, www.wholeselfministries.org. That's WHOLESELF ministries.org, and look at what we have to offer. We have online classes, we have in-person classes, and I thank you again for coming to join us. We'll meet again next month on the third Sunday. In the meantime, I invite you to be peaceful, productive, and empowered. Shem Hotep.